Alright guys, so this is day 2 of Thomas Cashman giving evidence at his own trial as the accused killer of 9-year-old Olivia Pratt-Korbel from Dovecot near Liverpool on August 22nd of last year. So, the jury are back in court this morning and Thomas Cashman is seated in the witness box. He's wearing a navy blue jumper over a shirt and tie with navy blue trousers. John Cooper, QC, defending, will resume questioning his client. So the morning is spent with Cooper questioning Cashman and then cross-examination. I'll start a new video at the cross-examination because this is a lot of reading. And once again, I'm reading this from the transcript by Liverpool Echo. So they would have had a reporter in court. Just as a reminder for those overseas, we do not have televised trials here in the UK. So it's down to a court reporter to basically write all of this down and then put it online. Okay, let's get going. Justice Yip, who's the judge, we are conscious he was quite quietly spoken. I've said to him to keep his voice up. There's no speaking too loudly in court. If anyone is struggling to hear, give me an indication. Mr. Cooper also asks about the witness who cannot be named for legal reasons, who Cashman has accepted sleeping with. Did you know she was pregnant? No, I didn't know. Did you know one way or the other whether the child was yours? No, I didn't know. Cashman says he became engaged to his partner, Kaylee Ann Sweeney, in 2015. Mr. Cooper asks, you heard the evidence as far as, witness name, was concerned. She said this, I'm going to ruin you, like you ruined my whole life. She agreed that that was her view. She went on to say, he has ruined my life, finished my life, he's head fucked me. She was referring to her relationship with you. When she said, I'm going to ruin you, you were surprised to hear her express herself in that way? Cashman replies, everything she said is what she's done to me. She's ruined my life. She's ruined my partner's life. She's ruined my kid's life. What she said to her mate, she has done to me. My life's been ruined. What she's saying is a lie. She's ruined my life. That's the only thing I can say. Mr. Cooper refers to CCTV footage where Cashman is seen on the corner of Finch Lane and Berryford Road. He says that the prosecutor's case is, effectively, this was going to be the time when you thought of shooting him. That's not true. The Crown's case is that you were planning to shoot him. You looked down the street and walked away. Was that you? Yes, that was me. Were you looking down the street to shoot Joseph Nee? No, I wasn't. I was on my way to my brother's house. My brother's come out of his house. I've turned round, walked back to the house I've just come from. Why were you looking at your brother? I was on my way to his house, but he doesn't allow me to give the lads cannabis. He's come out of his garden. I've turned round and come back where I've come from. My friend used it, the house. I supplied my friend's cannabis, who sold it from my brother's house. He didn't agree with it. Where were you intending to go? To my brother's house. That's just on the left. What stopped you? My brother. Were you intending to walk down the street to shoot Joseph Nee? No, I was not. Were you ever scoping the area? No, I was not. I was going to my brother's house. Cashman has shown a picture of the view he would have had at that stage. On the right-hand side of that photograph, do we see a house that may have been associated with Joseph Nee? It's the house of Timmy Naylor's. Did you know that Nee was there? I was not thinking about Nee when I turned that corner, so I wouldn't know. Do you see your brother's house? My brother's house is on the left-hand side. Cashman is asked to circle 2 addresses on the printed off copy as well as his brother's car, shown to the judge and jury. The defendant is now shown a CCTV still of him walking along Rothbury Road. He says he is going to my brother's. For the reason you've already given us, yes. Cashman is then seen on the corner of Finch Lane and Berryford Road. You say you saw your brother. As soon as I seen him, I turned round and walked back. The CCTV footage is played to the court. Mr. Cooper plays the footage of Cashman walking around the corner before turning round and walking back in the direction he came from. We can see it's raining. Very bad. Why did you have your hood up? 'Cause it was raining. That's the instant where you are looking to go to your brother's. You saw your brother and turned away. That's exactly what happened, yeah. The court is shown another angle of this, which shows the front of his brother Kevin Dunn's house. Do you see yourself? Yes, I can, yeah. Do you see your brother's car? I can see a bit of it, yeah, it's the grey one. A third view is shown. A man wearing what appears to be a blue top can be seen approaching the car. Who is that? That's my brother, who's just come out of his house. When you're looking down the street, you're planning to go to your brother's with no interest in Mr. Nee, then you go back. Exactly what happened, yeah. Mr. Cooper asks of August 22nd, 2022. What were you doing generally? Cashman replies, it was just a normal, typical day for me. Out around the area seeing people, collecting money, dropping off bits of cannabis, socialising, just stuff that I do every single day of my life. The defendant is shown CCTV images of his white Citroen Berlinga van. Are you in the van with anyone? Yes, I am. I've just been to collect some money from Fincham Road, then to Wimburn Road. Just money, what was owed for cannabis. Are you driving it? Yes, I am. Where are you going to? I was going to me little mates on the corner of Princess Drive, just to get some money from a mate who owed me money. A mate who owed me money for cannabis. He's then shown CCTV footage of his van. Cashman says he's on his way back to his sister's house. He says his little mate was with me. During the course of the afternoon, is that what your business was? Collecting money you were owed? Generally driving round, collecting money, dropping off bits of cannabis. Maybe going to my mates just to have a spliff or seeing someone for a minute. That was my typical day I'd do. If, for instance, there had been CCTV of the 18th of August, the 20th of August, whatever it may be, would that show any difference? If they went back on all the CCTV, they'd see the same movements every day, going from home to my sister's to my brother's, seeing my mates. Mr. Cooper asks if he thought CCTV cameras are common in the area. They're everywhere, yeah. Not sure of every single house. Cashman is shown his van again and asks where he's going. He replies, to my sister's house. Footage shows him going into the address. Do we see someone by the front door? That's me at my sister's house. We see another person walking to get cannabis. Who's that? That's my little mate. Why were you at your sister's house? It's somewhere I work from. Were you taking anything there? I went in and put a bit of money away. Did you collect anything? Yes, you can't see on this image. I just got to my sister's. My friend's just left a bit of cannabis. I spoke to him through the car window. He got off. I went into my sister's then. Cashman said he left half a kilo at his sister's house. He adds, my friend left it with me. It's a normal thing I'd do. It's somewhere I'd always go. If I'm not there, they just leave it there for me. He said he was then collecting half a kilo of pollen from his friend Nicky McHale's on Snowbury Road. Why is his house being used in that way? It started off, Nicky McHale was moving to his cousin's on Lark Lane. He said I could rent it off him. I was renting it off him. I'd done the house up best I could. After a couple of months, Nicky McHale come back down. He was staying on his auntie's couch on Princess Drive. I said to him, why don't you move back into your house then? I said, if you don't mind, I've been storing bits of money and cannabis there. He agreed and said, no problem. Cashman adds, I don't ever drive round with large amounts of cannabis on me. I haven't got a licence. It'd be dangerous driving, having no licence, no insurance. If I'm on foot, I can get away from them. Just in case, yeah. I don't mind driving round with money on me, but not large amounts of cannabis. Cashman says he had a key for the address on Snowbury Road. I was getting half a kilo of pollen and taking a kilo of pollen to my brother's house. We've established your brother Kevin lives on Finch Lane, is that right? Yes. Mr. Cooper continues. Is that the start of the journey? I went from Nicky's and went to my brother's, seen my brother and turned round. Cashman is now shown CCTV footage on Princess Drive, which agrees is him walking across the street. I've just come from Nicky's, going on the way to my brother's. He says he's picked up half a kilo of pollen at McHale's house. When you turned away from your brother's address, where did you go? I went in Nicky McNair's and put the drugs away. These are the drugs you wanted to leave at your brother's. You couldn't and are now taking them back to where you got them from. Yeah. The jury has shown CCTV of Cashman walking on Mab Lane. Mr. Cooper asks, where were you going? Cashman says it shows him going back to my sister's house. It stopped raining. It was raining bad, but the rain stopped. Are you wearing a hood now? No, I'm not. It's a normal thing. Mr. Cooper suggests it's raining hood up. It stopped raining hood down. Cashman agrees. Are you trying to conceal your identity in any way? Not at all, no. Why are you going to your sister's? My van's parked there, and it's a place I would go. Cashman is shown CCTV footage of him leaving his sister's in a blue t-shirt. He is asked if he'd changed clothing. Yes, I'd just been out in the rain, I was soaking wet. He says he'd had his van for a couple of months. When you were changed, where did you go? To my brother's house, I drove there. Why did you go back to your brother's? I wanted to go and tell the lads I'd just been round, but my brother was still there. I just went in and had a spliff with them and chilled for a bit, then got off. I went back later in the day and told them to go round and get it from Nicky's. My brother weren't there then. There's a lot of movement by you, a lot of travelling around the locality to different roads and different places. I accept that. It's my area where I've been brought up. It's not abnormal for me to do that. Mr. Cooper says the prosecution adage, the purpose of your movements was either for the reasons of planning and execution or the execution itself. He asks, what do you say about that? That's not true. That's not true whatsoever. You can check all the CCTV from weeks and weeks before. You'll see every day what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything different on that day. Cashman is shown CCTV footage of himself in a blue t-shirt on Finch Lane. He says, that's me coming out of my brother's. His van is then seen driving along Kingsheath Avenue. Cashman is asked what he's doing at that time. I'm not 100%, but I think I go to my mates on Fincham Road. I think I just went and had a little spliff with him. Cashman says his friend is called Danny. He's then seen on Finch Lane. I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what I was doing. I can't say I was going to here, to here, to here. It was just a normal, typical day. There might be parts where you ask me what I'm doing and I'm not too sure. A mixture of cannabis dealing and socialising, would that be right? Yeah. His van is then seen on Deansbrook Lane. I was going home. The vehicle continues to Grenadier Drive. When you go home, where do you park your van? Outside my house or on the drive? You're quite comfortable driving round in it? Yes. Mr. Cooper moves on a journey about 1840, so that's 20 to 7 in the PM, and asks Cashman where he is going. I've had time to think about this, and I've seen the footage. I was at home for about an hour. I must have had my tea, I think, because it was around tea time. I'm getting my head together, trying to think of where I'm going after this. I was 90% sure I went to the Argos to buy her baby toys because she wasn't well. She had tonsillitis. I buy her baby toys near enough every day. It's something I love doing. I'm seen 20 minutes later on East Prescott Road where the Argos is. So Argos is a store in the UK, in case you don't know. You're at home having tea and then off to the shop to buy your kids some presents. Yes. Were you planning the shooting of Joseph Nee over your tea? No, he was my friend. I'm not planning to shoot nobody. Cashman says he then went to his brother's house before returning home. I needed to tell the lads where to collect the pollen from. His van is then seen headed towards Princess Drive. He says he's not too sure where he's going at this time. Cashman's vehicle then turns into Snowbury Road. I was going on to Snowbury. I stopped for 2 minutes. I don't know what for. Can't remember who I went to see. Do you know people in that area? I know everybody. I grew up in the area. He agrees he's well known in the area. He says he might have stopped to see somebody for a minute. Anything to do with scoping the joint in relation to any planned hit on Joseph Nee? None whatsoever. Any behaviour suggesting you were going to execute that hit during the daytime? No. What you're looking at is typical of a lad who lives in the area and sells cannabis in the area, getting it from A to B. Cashman says he's then seen going into his brother's house. You pass your brother's house. That road is the road what leads on to everywhere. I'm from Finchy. That's the road you'll see me at every day. You'll see everybody. You see, this is your general road you go down and up regularly. Every day, yeah. Every single day. He's shown further CCTV footage. What makes me think I went to Argos is she weren't well. Because I come from East Prescott Road and I always buy the baby toys. I knew in my head I went and took the baby toys. I went home for half an hour. I'm sure I was playing with the baby, with the toys for half an hour. Were you planning a gun hit on Joseph Neate? No, I'm not. The footage of Cashman's van continues. It's clearly suggested by the prosecution that the planned shooting of this man is getting closer. You're doing all your work on it. Here we have, just before 7:30 p.m, you're popping back home. That's right, yeah. Cashman is shown Neate's van travelling to Finch Lane. Did you know anything about that? No, I did not. Cashman is seen driving away from Grenadier Drive shortly after 8 p.m. Where were you planning to go? I'm not too sure. Obviously, at the time, you're taking journeys backwards and forwards to certain places. Were you aware that you were going to have an account for every single trip? No, I was doing what I do most days, driving around my area, going from A to B. Footage continues. I have people who owe me money in the area, or I'm just going to see a mate. It's one or the other. He says he does not know why his van was then on Finch Lane. I couldn't tell you every movement throughout the full day. Cashman is then seen on Snowbury Road. I went to my mate's Craig's house and spoke to him about arranging to pick something up. Your mate Craig, what's his surname? It's Craig Byrne. Was there an issue or matter that needed to be resolved between you? I wouldn't call it that. We needed to go and pick up some money. What did the money relate to? Cannabis. From a mate who owes me in West Derby. Craig does running around for me. He collects money. He never does drugs. He didn't want to get involved in drugs, but he'll collect money for me. Cashman says the plan was for him to be picked up on Aspie's Road, at the top of the street where Mr. Byrne's girlfriend lives. Where had you planned to leave your van? I needed to pass money to my girlfriend's brother for flowers for a funeral for the next few days. When did you do that? Or when were you going to do that? I was going to leave my van there. My girlfriend's mum and dad are very strict. I've been with my girlfriend for 20 years, and that road is like my road. But from previous occasions, I know they don't allow me to have nobody outside the house. My plan was to leave the money for flowers and leave my van there. Cashman says this did not happen in the event. Cashman continues, I went to my sister's house. I had a spliff at my sister's house. I lost track of time. I went to Aspie's, parked my van up and got in with Craig. He come like 5 minutes later, maybe 10 minutes later. He says that's because his girlfriend's parents dislike having people outside the house. He often asks people to meet me on the corner if they want to come and see me. The court is shown CCTV footage of a Ford Transit Connect on Blackmore Drive around 9 p.m. Cashman says, that's my mate's van, Craig. The vehicle is then seen travelling on Finch Lane. Mr. Cooper asks, are you in that van at the time? Yes, I am. Cashman says, I had a little moan at him for being late. It stunk of rubbish. Were you impressed? Was there a bit of a tense conversation? No, I was not. I can't remember the words I said. I said, what's the smell? It stinks. He started laughing and said he had bin bags in the back. We stopped at the cemetery and got rid of the bin bags. There's big massive bins there, big massive square bins there. People from the area go there and get rid of their rubbish. It's in the cemetery, yeah? Cashman says they went to Craig's house then. He adds, we went to go and count some money. We're getting closer and closer to the shooting. During this time, are you discussing in any way killing someone or shooting someone? No, I'm not. Did you get to Craig Byrne's house? Yes, we did. When you got to Craig's home, where did you go? We went upstairs to a spare bedroom and started counting money. How much was it? It was 10,000. Did you decide to go anywhere or do anything? We went downstairs, done myself a spliff in the kitchen and went in the back garden. I was having a general chit-chat with Craig. Can't remember what we were talking about. What time was it you went down and had the spliff at Craig Byrne's house? I'm not really sure. I weren't looking at my watch. If we're going off time here, it's 9:15. We were counting the money for 15-20 minutes. We had a chat for 10-20 minutes, whatever time that would be. Mr. Cooper suggests that would be a convenient time for a short break, and Justice Yip sends the jury out. Okay, the jury are back in position, and Mr. Cooper resumes his questioning. Cashman is asked about what he's wearing at the time. I'm not sure. Took my jacket off. I want to ask you about that jacket. When you put it on and what it looked like. When did you first put it on? I'm not sure when I put it on. When I would have been in my sister's, leaving my sister's. I went to my sister's in a blue t-shirt and came out with a jacket on. It must have been around that time. What trousers were you wearing? I was wearing just tracky bottoms. Did they have anything luminous on them? You can see they have reflectors on. The trainers you were wearing, were they the same trainers you wore all that day? Yes, they were. The room in which you were counting the money was hot. You took your jacket off. You went downstairs, rolled a spliff, and went into the garden. You chatted with him, smoked a spliff. How long for? I'm not sure. Time goes by, doesn't it? 10, 20 minutes. Cooper asked what they did then. We went into the front garden then. We just went into the front garden from the back garden, just chatting and walking down into the front garden. I was smoking my spliff still. How long did you stay with Craig in the front garden? I'm not sure. Craig went back in to sort money out. I was in the front garden smoking my spliff. I was speaking to my mate who lives over the road. Did you see anyone else? There was Colin Howells. He's a friend of Craig and Nicky. I'd asked how Colin was and had a little chat. He was living in a caravan on Craig's garden. Cashman says he has been living with Mr. McHale, but they'd had a falling out. I didn't have any conversation with Colin, no. Nicky lives right facing Craig. I see Nicky here, Nicky McHale. I wasn't speaking to Colin Howells. I'd seen him in the caravan. Did you speak to anyone else? Just Nicky over the road. We just spoke across the road. Nicky doesn't smoke cannabis. He was having a cigarette on his garden. I was smoking a spliff in Craig's garden. General chit-chat. Nothing important. The football had been on. I might have asked, how's the match getting on? But I'm not really into football. He says the conversation was not long, about 5 minutes or so. I went back into the house. I see Craig. I was in Craig's garden. He went over to Nicky's to ask him could he drop the money off to put it somewhere safe. When we come out of the front garden, we could hear sirens everywhere. Mr. Cooper asked what Cashman thought when he heard sirens. Cashman says, that's a normal thing in Huyton. If you hear sirens, living in Huyton, it's a bit rough. The sirens were getting closer, sounded like they were everywhere. They got louder, they were coming closer. Did Nicky agree to take the money? Nicky got his friend. His friend was living with him for a couple of days because he fell out with his girlfriend. He got him to take it. How long was Craig and Nicky having this conversation? He was only there about 5 minutes. He came out, he went with Paul. I don't know him. Was he a friend of Nicky's? He was a friend of Nicky's, yeah. He went and took him to put it somewhere safe. Craig went with him, yeah. They went into Paul's car, a Mercedes. I stayed at Craig's, just rolled myself another spliff and sat on the wall with the fence on. I just sat on the fence and smoked my spliff. Cashman says Mr. Howells does TikTok to earn money. He says Nicky does TikToks as well. I don't know how it works. I know Colin makes money by doing videos on TikTok. Cashman continues. You could hear sirens and police and that was driving about. How long were you sitting on the wall for and chilling out? About 20 minutes or so. Cashman says Mr. Byrne returns after 20 minutes, 30 minutes max. He says he had a little stop by the Labour Club. There was police everywhere. Something's happened. They went over to Nicky's for a minute when they came back. He come over and told me that. He told me that the police was everywhere by the Labour Club. How long were you at Craig's house for? I'm not sure. I don't know. There came a time when you left. Did you go anywhere after Craig's house? I was with Craig in the garden. Craig's gone in the house. I'm sitting on the fence. Paul Russell's come down the road in his car. I've jumped in. You say Paul's come up. Paul who? Paul Russell. He came from the direction of Snowbury, from whereabouts he lives. It's only one way off that estate. Were you expecting him? No, I just seen him, flashed him down, got a lift with him. I got in his car. I wanted a lift to Aspie's Road and then go and get my van. I needed to drop the money off for flowers I forgot to do earlier on. Cashman says the funeral flowers were for my girlfriend's brother's daughter's boyfriend. He hung himself. Mr. Cooper asks, was Russell happy to help you? Yeah. Did you have a conversation with him? Yeah, about money that he owes me. How much? 25,000. What was that for? Cannabis. Over what period of time has that amounted? It weren't. It was at once. Mr. Cooper asks how the debt was made up. It was off 5 kilos. What did Paul Russell want with that amount of cannabis? He would have kept one for himself and sold the 4 to somebody else. How long had that arrangement been going on? He was only meant to get it for a week, but 3 weeks went by. He still never paid the money. What did you say to him? I just said to him, where's my money? He said he was going to try and sort it. Mr. Cooper said this was probably after the shooting. Did you get the impression he was serious about paying you back? He looked a bit worried. I said, where's my money? You should have paid. I said, I'm not paying my bill for you. You better get me money. He said I should have 5,000 and some cannabis to give back as well. Cashman says he told Russell to give this to a friend. He said he had that for me and I got out of my van. I said, go on then, see you later. When you got into the car with Paul, you say you saw him by chance. Did you grab your coat? No, I was in the front garden. Paul Russell's come up. I've flagged him down. I've jumped in his car. Did you drop you on Aspie's Road? Yes, he did. CCTV footage shows Cashman parked his van further up Aspie's Road and entered a house. Cashman says, I needed to take money to my girlfriend's brother's for flowers. That's where he lives. The footage shows him and then continues towards Princess Drive. My plan was to go home, but I didn't have my cannabis. I ended up going back to Snowbury Road to collect some cannabis. He says he pulled up outside Craig and Nicky's. Why? I needed to get some cannabis. Why? To take home with me because I smoke cannabis, just enough to do me for the night. Cashman is asked to keep his voice up and continues. There was police everywhere. When I pulled up at Craig and Nicky's, there was police presence everywhere. I didn't want to drive my van as I haven't got a licence. I went into Nicky's house. When I pulled up outside, Craig was in the garden with Colin. I stopped and spoke to them for a moment. I went into Nicky's house and grabbed some cannabis. But when I went into Nicky's, I went to do myself a spliff and get a drink out of the fridge. He had nothing in the fridge, so he said he'd go to the shop. As far as Nicky is concerned, is Nicky a cannabis dealer? Nicky is a cannabis dealer, yeah. He lets you store drugs at his house, yeah. Mr. Cooper asks, what time are we at now, approximately? We're talking about 11 o'clock or just after. Is that fair? Just before. He says he was there 10, 15, 20 minutes max. He says Mr. McHale returned with cans of Coke after going to the shop in Cashman's van. Did you have a drink and relax? I had a drink and smoked some spliff. I asked Nicky to drive me home. He said something's happened and there's police everywhere. He asked his mate, Paul McCarthy, to drop me off. I don't know Paul, so I was a bit wary of taking him to my home address. It was the first time I'd met him. Cashman says he instead instructed Paul McCarthy to drop him at his sister's home. My sister wasn't home, she was at her boyfriend's. What did you do next? I went into my sister's and went to phone my niece to see if she'd take me home. She'll always give me a lift. Sometimes I've been smoking too much weed and I don't like to drive around in my van. The car she drives, I bought it for her. Mr. Cooper asks about how the deal to buy the car came about. There was no deal. I bought her the car. She just passed a test. Just sometimes when I needed a lift, I'd say, Bobby, give me a lift. She's my little niece. We're close. The sort of person you'd confide in. I just speak to her generally about how she is, things like that. Speak to her just as she's my niece, yeah? Bobby picks you up. How long were you in the car with her? I couldn't get hold of her, Bobby. I ended up getting on my bikes at my sister's. It was a 5-minute drive on a pedal back. I took the short route by our Bobby's and saw her in the window. I asked her for a lift home, and she gave us a lift home. Mr. Cooper asks, you saw her, Bobby, in the window? She lives in a little flat. What'd you say? I went in. I seen her in the window. I asked her for a lift home. CCTV footage shows a Ford Fiesta driving towards the Point Estate. Cashman says he's in the car with Bobby Burley. He says Mason Hill, Miss Bailey's sister's partner, is not in the vehicle as he'd been stated by prosecution. Mr. Cooper says, there's a dispute about this. Where are you going? Going home. Did you get home? Yeah, I went home. Did Bobby drop you off? Bobby dropped me off, yeah. She just dropped me off outside. When you got home, what did you do? I had an argument with my missus over coming in late. What time approximately was it when you got dropped off? It would have been just after this. I'm on my estate at 10 to 12, no later than 5 to 12. Kaylee's not very happy. No, I had an argument with Kaylee. I couldn't be bothered with it. I said I'm going out, staying out. I phoned our Bobby and I got her to pick me up. Mr. Cooper asks where he went. She took me to where about Bobby lives. I've also got a flat I've got access to through my stepbrother's mum. She's with someone. He's got a flat in that same block as our Bobby's. How long were you in the car with Bobby? Not long, it's a 5-minute journey. I had a spliff, chilled, got my head down for the night. Did you at any stage go round to the witness's house and confess to anything? No, I did not. She's trying to ruin my life. Why is she trying to ruin your life? She's trying to ruin my life because I won't leave my partner. I've threatened her partner and she wants me out of the way so she can move on with Paul. I know she likes money. She's doing it for the reward. I was thinking, why would she do this to me? I didn't know the effect I was having on her. I thought to myself, I've upset her in a lot of different ways, but I didn't pay attention to her. She's messaged her friend a month before saying she's going to ruin me. I knew she was threatening to tell Kaylee. I'd always try and smooth it over with her and keep her happy so it never got back to Kaylee. In what way did you threaten them? I never really threatened them. I just asked him where the money is. He's taking the piss. The next day I was on the estate driving past his house. I seen Paul in the garden. He passed a bit of weed round. It was a load of shit. It was shit weed. I said, if you don't sort it out, I'll take your graft and I'll take your car. I always knew it was in his head I was sleeping with his girl, and he's doing it on purpose. You suspected he knew about you and the witness. He was never the same. Cashman refers to the moment he told Russell's brother about the witness planning to sell pornographic images. From that moment on, he was always a bit different with me. Even though I was sleeping with her, he didn't know that. In his head, he took it as something's going on with her. The obsession, the drug debt, and the reward. There are 3 main reasons you think she's lying about you. Yeah, I think so. She's openly admitted she wanted to ruin my life. Paul Russell's been Googling on his phone a week before this happened the fastest way to commit suicide. I know it's not the nicest thing. He was under so much pressure to pay me the money. He bumped into a friend of mine. He told me that. He told me he's been Googling the fastest way to commit suicide. He just said he was feeling depressed and things like that. He was aware you were going to demand your money back before the 23rd. It wasn't a surprise to him. But on the 23rd, what were you up to? Did your movements in any way differ? No, I went back to my sister's house, went round to Snowbury Road to see a few people, went on my way past Paul Russell's house. I seen him in the garden. Were you in any way trying to escape, keep a low profile because you'd shot someone? No, I was not. Business as usual? Yeah. Were you driving around in the same van? I was in my mate's van when I went round. My mate's pulled up and I just jumped in his van with him. You say you went to see Craig on the 23rd. I was at Craig and Nicky's, yeah. Craig told you what? That Paul passed round £2,500, 9 ounces of scrap. There were no buds in that. It was a load of shit, basically. 9 ounces of skunk, but it was all the scraps. It was a load of C-word, basically. Poor quality, yeah. You then, later that day, were driving around. I would have been round my own area. It's a normal thing to do. I was with my mate at one stage, my mate John. At another stage, I was with my missus. Did you see Paul Russell by his house? Yes, I did. Did you stop the vehicle? I reversed back up to him. Did you get out? No, I think I just spoke to him. He come over to the window. I was in the passenger seat of the van. I just said to him, what the fuck's that you've brought round for me? You've brought round a load of shit and you're taking the piss. If he doesn't, I'll take his graft. He grafts in the local area like his graft phone. Mr. Cooper asks him to explain what a graft phone is. Cashman says, something like what he sells cannabis on. A graft phone is something you'd use to sell cannabis on. It's something he'd earn his money on. Everyone would phone his phone. It's the number what's worth money, yeah? He would have had no graft whatsoever, no income. I was going to take his car as well. Mr. Cooper asked what Russell said to this. He just said he's going to sort it. He'll just sort it out, basically. He didn't want me to do it. He just said if he doesn't end up paying, I would have took the phone, give it to someone else to keep it going. I would have got my money. Mr. Cooper asks about the address at the Decks in Runcorn. Cashman says that's my flat. It's a flat I've had for a long time. I've had it for over a year. Mr. Cooper asks about the section of CCTV footage which Cashman disputes is him. The court is shown a still of a pedestrian on Finch Lane shortly after 9 p.m. I swear to God that is not me walking up that road. That's not me. The court will now break for dinner, resuming at 2 p.m. Whew, this is a lot of reading. Court resumes. Back in the courtroom now, and Cashman has been escorted back into the witness box. Jury are brought in, and it continues. So, the court is now shown CCTV footage from Dovecot Labour Club. Cashman's van is seen at the corner of Finch Lane and Kingsheath Avenue. It's suggested that you're doing some sort of recce there. You're speaking, it seems, to two women. How did that come about? I was speaking to them. There was roadworks on the road. As my mate's mum and sister came round the corner, I stopped to let them go. I spoke to them and asked them where Michael was and if they were both okay. It's my mate's mum and my mate's sister. I was seeing where Michael was, Michael Savage. It's his mum's sister. I was asking in general where they were. Were you also looking for an opportunity to shoot someone? No. Cashman is asked about his visit to the Decks in Runcorn. He says, it's me flat, a place I go with my missus to have a little break when the kids get minded by our missus's mum, Kaylee's mum and dad. You sometimes go to the Decks. A little getaway, chill out, just me and her. Mr. Cooper turns to the gunman's getaway by garden hopping. You know the area, don't you? Yes. How many of the houses have CCTV? There's a lot of them. The next door neighbours has them. This is your patch, your local area, yeah? These cameras are all private door cameras, is that right? Both. They have doorbell cameras, and they have normal cameras on the houses as well. Cashman agrees that the shooter would have had to jump the fences and come down the gated alleyways. Your case is, whatever the shooter might have been doing, it wasn't you. Yes. Mr. Cooper continues, in due course you were arrested on a number of occasions by the police. I was arrested on September the 4th. I know, it was my birthday. I was arrested on September 29th. Did you in any way attempt to resist arrest? No. Then you were interviewed by the police on a number of occasions. Yes, I was. You made a prepared statement and gave a no-comment interview. Yes. During the course of the interview, you were represented by solicitors. Yes. Did they give you advice on your conduct in the interview, and did you take that advice? Yes. Mr. Cashman, you were accused of a serious criminal offence. One in particular offence couldn't be more serious. Yes or no? Did you commit any of these offences? Cashman appears to become tearful and his voice wavers and he says, no, I'm getting blamed for something I haven't done. He takes a deep breath. Cashman adds, I'm getting blamed for killing a child. I've got my own children. I'm not a killer. I'm a dad. I'm getting blamed for something I haven't done. The court now takes a short break. Once the jury are brought back in, Mr. Cooper has no further questions and cross-examination begins by David McLachlan, QC. Going to start a new video. I'm going to need a drink. Pepsi Max. Then another video. See you soon.